Welcome back to Coins History US, the channel where rare coins turn into real money and hidden history comes to life. Stop scrolling right now, because the coins in your pocket or old drawer could be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Today, we're uncovering two legendary American coins that most people completely ignore: the 1976 quarter dollar and the 1979 $1 coin. These coins were minted in massive numbers, but specific versions, errors, and rare conditions have shocked collectors with unbelievable prices. That ordinary-looking 1976 Bicentennial Quarter, some have sold for huge premiums, and the 1979 $1 coin, especially certain mint marks and varieties, is becoming a hot target in the coin collecting. Imagine holding a coin so common yet so extraordinary that it connects your fingers to centuries of American identity, and every time its silver edge flashes in the light, it whispers the story of revolution's sacrifice, national pride, and a celebration unlike anything the country had ever experienced. Imagine a coin minted not just to be spent, but to become a symbol, a souvenir, and a legacy of the United States turning to 100 years old. And imagine that in the palm of your hand sits the 1976 quarter dollar, a coin that millions of people believe they already know, yet when its true story is finally told, it reveals more mystery, more drama, and more national significance than anyone ever expected. And today you and I are going to travel deep into the world of this historic bicentennial quarter, exploring how it was designed, why it exists, what secrets are hidden inside its production numbers, how it moved through the hands of everyday Americans, and how it became one of the most iconic circulating commemorative coins ever made in the history of the United States Mint. Story of the 1976 quarter dollar begins long before the first coin was struck, because the dream of celebrating the American bicentennial already existed. In the early 1960s, as the nation prepared for a milestone that only a handful of civilizations in history had ever reached, 200 years of sovereignty and endurance, the government wanted symbols that every citizen could hold in their hands. Daily reminders that the country had grown from a struggling group of colonies into a powerful nation, and the mint was given the task of producing circulating coins that would carry this spirit forward and be used by millions every single day. Planning took years. Committees discussed ideas, artists submitted designs, and the conversation surrounding what the bicentennial coinage should represent was intense. It had to honor the past, inspire the future, and feel unmistakably American, while still functioning as everyday currency. The quarter dollar was chosen as a centerpiece because it was one of the most widely used denominations, and Americans were already deeply familiar with the classic George Washington portrait on the obverse. But for the reverse, the United States wanted something new, something that captured the patriotic emotions rising across the country. A national design competition was launched, giving artists the chance to influence a coin that would enter circulation by the hundreds of millions, and 3 winning designs were ultimately selected for the dime, quarter, and half dollar. The quarter's winning design belonged to Jack L.R., a talented engraver whose depiction of a colonial drummer standing proudly with a torch of victory in the background struck a powerful balance between Revolution-era imagery and modern celebration. His artwork immediately resonated with the selection committee because it felt alive. It felt like a story frozen in metal, and it fit perfectly with the message of the bicentennial. When the design was approved, the mint prepared for production on a scale the country had rarely seen. To meet the enormous demand expected for the 1976 commemorative coinage, the mint began striking coins in 1975, but intentionally struck none dated 1975. Instead, all quarters produced in both 1975 and 1976 would carry the dual date 1776, 1976, a subtle but symbolic reminder that America was honoring its past while standing firmly in its present. This dual date would become one of the most memorable and recognizable features of the coin, and even today collectors immediately associate the two dates with the bicentennial celebration. Production took place at multiple mint facilities, including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, and each location played a vital role in ensuring enough coins reached every part of the nation. Philadelphia and Denver struck the circulating copper, nickel-clad coins, while San Francisco produced special collector strikes, including 40% silver versions that would one day become highly sought after in coin collections worldwide. The decision to strike silver quarters again after so many years was deliberate, as the mint wanted to offer something special and nostalgic to Americans who remembered the silver era before 1965. The silver Bicentennial Quarter also provided a way to honor the precious metal tradition that had shaped U.S. coinage for more than a century. As the coins entered circulation, Americans embraced them instantly. People pulled them from change, children saved them in jars, and grandparents gave them as keepsakes to mark the bicentennial year. They were not rare, but they were meaningful, physical piece of a national birthday celebration, and for many families, collecting bicentennial quarters became a shared experience, a symbol of patriotism, and a way to connect generations through a small metallic reminder of 1776. But to truly understand the 1976 quarter, must also understand the history of the Washington Quarter itself. First issued in 1932 to honor the 200th birthday of George Washington, the Washington Quarter was never meant to be permanent. Yet it remained in circulation for decades, and by the time the bicentennial approached, it was an American icon in its own right. The decision to keep Washington on the obverse while changing the reverse allowed the mint to merge to powerful historical celebrations, Washington's bicentennial and the nation's bicentennial, weaving the identity of the first president directly into the story of the country's 200-year milestones. The bicentennial celebration unfolded across the United States. Fireworks, parades, special events, and nationwide ceremonies reflected the pride of a country, honoring its endurance and evolution. The 1976 quarter circulated through all of it, passing from vendor to tourist, from family to family, from collector to collector, becoming a silent witness to a once-in-a-lifetime celebration, and its drummer boy image became instantly recognizable even to people who knew nothing about coinage, because symbols of the revolution echoed everywhere in advertising, posters, school lessons, and patriotic media banned the general public. The coin also captured the attention of numismatists who studied its varieties, its strike quality, and its minting characteristics. Subtle differences between the Philadelphia and Denver issues attracted collectors, and the silver San Francisco strikes developed their own devoted following. Over time, specialists identified varieties such as strong strike examples, weak strike examples, small die markers, and differences in the sharpness of the drummer design, each contributing to the coin's deeper numismatic story. Over the decades, the bicentennial quarter transitioned from ordinary change to a nostalgic treasure. As fewer and fewer examples were found in circulation, people realized that the nation had moved on, and newer commemoratives had taken the spotlight. But the 1976 quarter remained unique because it wasn't just commemorating a single event, it represented an entire country, reflecting on 200 years of independence and identity, and that emotional value only grew stronger with time. Collectors today often seek pristine, uncirculated examples, proof versions, and silver strikes. Many families still keep the ones they saved years ago, and some even discover that the bicentennial quarter they set aside has become a cherished family item, a reminder of a historic celebration they lived through or inherited stories about. And as coin collectors continue to grow around the world, the 1976 Bicentennial Quarter remains one of the most recognized and beloved American coins ever issued. Its legacy of the 1976 quarter is powerful because it represents more than metal. It represents memory, unity, celebration, and national pride. It carries the heartbeat of the American story, and even today, when someone finds one in their change, it sparks a moment of excitement, because it is not just any coin, it is a symbol frozen in time, connecting the modern world with the dream of freedom first declared in 1776. And the pride celebrated in 1976. This is why the bicentennial quarter's journey continues year after year, passed down, collected, studied, and remembered, and as long as the United States honors its history, The 1976 quarter dollar will continue to shine as one of the greatest commemorative coins the nation has ever produced, and its drummer boy will forever stand as a reminder of the courage of the revolution and the celebration of a nation that reached 200 years of independence and moved boldly forward into its future. Imagine holding a piece of metal that carries the echo of a nation stepping boldly into a new era, a coin that was never just a dollar, but a statement of progress, controversy, innovation, and change. Now picture the year 1979, a time when America was shifting gears politically, economically, and technologically, and in the middle of that transformation, the United States Mint unveiled a coin unlike anything Americans had seen before, the 1979 $1 coin known to millions as the Susan B. Anthony dollar, a coin that aimed to revolutionize everyday transactions, but instead carved a place in history through its missteps, its symbolism, and its misunderstood purpose. Today we are about to dive deep into a story packed with ambition, design battles, public outrage, numismatic surprises, and the long journey of a coin that went from national reject to a respected collectible, and you are about to hear this entire unfolding in a way that could fill a 2-hour documentary as we explore how a small metal disc became a mirror of American society in the late 20th century. To understand the $1,979 coin, we first step back into the climate of the 1970s. The United States was dealing with inflation, creeping costs, shifting labor markets, advancing technology, and a growing interest in making commerce more efficient. The Eisenhower dollar, struck from 1971 to 1978, was large, heavy, and expensive to produce. And while beloved by many, it was impractical to use in everyday life. Vending machines struggled with it, cashiers disliked the weight, and the public preferred paper notes, so the Treasury began considering a smaller, lighter $1 coin, inspired partly by successful small dollar coins in other nations and partly by a push toward modernizing America's currency system. At that time, lawmakers and mint officials wanted a coin that represented both forward motion and national values. And so the discussion turned toward honoring Susan B. Anthony, the fierce 19th century suffragist who had spent her entire life fighting for women's rights, equality, and representation. She became the first real woman, other than allegorical figures, to appear on circulating U.S. currency, and the 1979 $1 coin was set to become a bold symbol of changing times. The design process, however, was far from smooth. Engraver Frank Gasparro crafted Anthony's portrait with the intention of showing strength, dignity, and determination, but critics argued that the portrait was too stern, too sharp, too serious, and too similar to a living photograph instead of an artistic rendering. Meanwhile, the reverse design, featuring the Apollo 11 lunar landing, was borrowed from the Eisenhower dollar, symbolizing achievement, exploration, and the unending push toward the future. The coin measured just over 26 millimeters, made of copper, nickel clad, and weighed significantly less than its predecessor. But this attempt at convenience created the beginning of the coin's biggest downfall. The new dollar was almost the same size as a quarter in color, texture, and weight, making it way too easy for the public to confuse the two coins. And this confusion created frustration, and frustration turned into rejection. The $1,979 coin entered circulation on July 2, 1979. The government expected Americans to welcome the new innovation. Stores, banks, transportation agencies, and vending machine companies were prepared for what they believed would be a major shift toward coin-based transactions. The Treasury even hoped the new dollar would reduce the need for paper notes, saving millions in production costs, but the optimism evaporated quickly. Within weeks, people complained that the coin constantly got mixed with quarters and that it lacked the convenience it was designed to offer. Cashiers accidentally gave the wrong change, customers refused to accept the coin, and the public sentiment was that the new dollar was simply unnecessary. By the end of 1979, millions of coins sat unused in vaults across the country, a dramatic contrast to the excitement that had first surrounded its release. Despite the poor public reception, the story of the 1979 dollar coin does not end there, because behind the scenes, This coin had an intricate production history with multiple varieties that would later make it fascinating to collectors. The Philadelphia Mint created both wide rim and narrow rim varieties, with the wide rim 1979p becoming one of the most famous. Because its limited mintage and distinctive look set it apart from the rest, the San Francisco Mint produced coins in both proof and circulation strikes, including the Type 1 filled S mint mark and the Type 2 clear S mint mark, which would one day become some of the most sought-after coins for collectors. The Denver Mint also played a key role in the massive production numbers, yet despite the large mintage, the rejection remained so strong that production of the Susan B. Anthony dollar was halted after 1981, making the 1979 issues historically important as the first in a short-lived series that symbolized the clash between government innovation and public practicalities. We move deeper into the narrative. The 1979 $1 coin becomes more than just a failed experiment. It becomes a reflection of America's political and cultural landscape at the time. The decision to honor Susan B. Anthony came during a period when the push for gender equality was gaining momentum. Schools, workplaces, and public spaces were changing. Expectations and representation mattered, and the Mint's bold choice to feature a pioneering woman on a circulating coin sent a message that the nation was evolving. However, the irony lies in the fact that the coin meant to celebrate progress became overshadowed by design flaws, misuse, and widespread misunderstanding. The American public was not ready to adjust its habits, and the coin that should have been a success was instead pushed aside by convenience-driven consumers who preferred paper money. Collectors today view the $1,979 coin much differently than the general public once did. With time, the coin became a subject of study, appreciation, and rediscovery. The varieties, the mint marks, the proof finishes, the errors, and the historical symbolism turned a once-rejected coin into a numismatic gem, and as people revisited its story, they began recognizing the bravery in honoring Susan B. Anthony, the craftsmanship of Gasparo's design, and the complexity of the era that produced the coin. Numismatists now analyze strike sharpness, mint mark types, surface finishes, plankett quality, and die varieties, transforming the 1979 $1 coin into a rich educational tool that helps tell America's story in a single piece of metal. As the years passed, the coin made occasional comebacks, including a temporary revival in 1999 driven by a shortage of dollar coins before the introduction of the Sacagawea golden dollar. Even then, the $1,979 coin stood as a reminder of lessons learned in minting, design, functionality, and public acceptance, and every time one of these coins surfaced in circulation, it sparked curiosity and questions from younger generations who had never seen it before, making it a living link between past and present. Today, when you hold a 1979 $1 coin, you are not just holding a piece of change, you are holding a chapter of American history. A story of ambition, a tribute to a woman who reshaped the nation, and an artifact that captures the unpredictable relationship between innovation and the public. This coin represents what happens when a nation dreams, pushes forward, and occasionally stumbles, but leaves behind something unforgettable. In the process, its legacy stretches far beyond its brief time in circulation, and its journey from hopeful creation to misunderstood failure to collectible treasure makes it one of the most compelling coins in U.S. history.